This is a walk around of my 99 Jeep Cherokee XJ. It's just a standard edition, not a sport or any other version. One of the first things that I did, it had a 3-inch lift kit, so that was pretty shot. I took that off and ended up putting on a 4.5-inch rough country lift kit. I've had it on for about 2 years now and have to say that I'm pretty happy with it. Haven't had any major issues. It hasn't settled a whole lot, even though I got a ton of weight in the back, which I'll show you later. It comes with the adjustable track bar, adjustable upper and lower control arms, and the sway bar disconnects, which I currently have disconnected because I'm trying to chase down a little bit of a wobble I have between 45 and 55. Something that happened after the trail, so there's a few things I need to do, and I'm just seeing what little things will make a difference. So other than that, I put on the Smittybilt front bumper, and it already came with the bar attached to it. I put on a XRC 9500 winch as well with the synthetic rope, and then I have a couple of spotlights on the front here. I'm planning on putting some floodlights of the same type on the top. I just haven't got around to figure out how I'm going to put the brackets on the roof rack. The roof rack itself, that is a Curt roof rack with the extension on it. The reviews were stating that water would get inside these and create rust droplets on top of the roof. So what I did is up in this area here, I filled all that in with underbody coating, as well as all the joints where the extension fit in. So I've slopped all that all over the joint areas. And then I also, in behind here where these tubes connect, I filled all that space in as well with the undercoating. And I've had it on for about 1.5 years now and have not seen any rust, so I'm pretty happy with that. I do plan on swapping out the, I don't know if you can see them back here. These things tend to strip pretty easy, what they give you to attach the U-joints. So I went ahead and bought some wing nuts, and I'm going to replace all of them with those, and then I'm going to cut the screws off to make them more flush so that it doesn't poke the things I keep on top there. I tinted the windows all the way around and put on the Napier Fender Flares. Those I'm really glad I did. I'm happy with those. They've taken some hits on the trails and they have not really moved at all. They fit really flush on mine. I didn't have to use the rubber that you could put on there to make it look more flush. They fit up really well. And these ones here, I had to do the cutout of the fronts and take off about, I don't know, about 1 inch of the sheet metal. And on the back, you have to do the slit and fold because of the pinch weld seams. So I just slit all the way around and then folded the metal back in order for the fender flares to work. And like I said, they've worked out really, really well for me. And I have a little bit of rubbing here and there if the flexing is extreme, but other than that, I would definitely recommend those to anybody. As far as the engine bay, there's nothing special in here. The K&N filter came with it. It's worked for me, so I just decided to keep it in. Right now it's extremely dirty, as well as the whole engine bay, because I took it out in the mud a couple of weeks ago, and then last week, or this weekend, I took it out to Uwharrie, and if it hasn't rained in a while, it is a huge dust bowl. So it's absolutely filthy right now. I need to get that cleaned, and especially that air intake. The engine's treated me pretty well. I've had to replace a lot of parts that are wearable because it is a 99, but this thing runs at 210 no matter what the weather, in the middle of winter or in the middle of summer with the AC on within the trails or out on the trails. And I think the highest it gets is about 215. So I've been really happy with the temperature on that. I know I hear a whole lot of horror stories about those. I have replaced quite a few parts in this, including the intake manifold, the exhaust manifold, let's let's see, the steering box was replaced, the alternator and water pump was recently replaced, as well as a lot of the hoses, power steering hoses, mostly all parts that could eventually fail over the life of the vehicle. So, and some of them I actually did just because I was changing out other things, so I just went ahead and replaced parts with new, rather than going back and dealing with it again. For the axles in the front, just your standard Dana 30 axle, I have a TerraFlex cover on the front, and I went ahead and put in a Aussie locker, and I'm real happy with that. It's treated me pretty well. I installed that myself, which was after watching a YouTube video, so I'm surprised it made it as far as it did. In the back is a 35C, which I know is horrible, but that's what it is, and rather than switch out the axle, I'll just have a really good story if the axle shaft ever breaks, and I'll deal with that when it happens. I actually carry extra axle shafts in case that does happen when I go out. On the back here is a Smittybilt tire carrier, and this I have, actually I talked about the wheels. Those are BFGoodrich all-terrains, and I've had about 20,000 miles on these, maybe closer to 30, and the tread's relatively good for how much miles I put on them, especially highway miles, and it's done really good out on the trails as well. So those are 12.5s, and I have a full-size spare here on the back of the bumper. So on the back here I have my 5-gallon gasoline can that I do have filled with gas, and then just miscellaneous things here. I got extra radiator fluid there. I attached this ammo can up from underneath with 4 bolts just to secure it. It stayed in place, and in there I keep extra fluids, a little box wrench for the high lift that I have attached with U-bolts on top of my roof rack, and other miscellaneous things. Actually a dead blow hammer so I can knock off and put on my sway bar links when I'm going on the trails or coming off of them. And then here I just have this ammo can attached with this strap when I have it closed all the way, and in here I have just some recovery stuff, a snatch block, gloves that I can get at easily, and a couple of straps with hooks on them. And as far as the bumper goes, I've had to make a couple of adjustments to it. I've had to put this little bolt in the hole here to keep it from moving. Every now and then I do have to adjust it, but as long as it stays oiled or I put WD-40 on it, it doesn't seize up on me, it doesn't rub, it doesn't bounce. When I go over bumps or potholes or go out on the trails, for the price, I'd say I'd recommend it definitely. I've been real happy with mine. As far as inside the vehicle, nothing spectacular other than the headliner. I did, let's see how much you can see, I did a video on the headliner, but I tried to put new material on it and I failed, so I went ahead and just spray painted and also used undercoating and just basically painted the whole thing. Added these nets up top using grommets. Put a magnetic bar up here so I can keep my tire pressure gauge and a couple of other little things that I need to get at. And then another net is over there, and I have these ammo pouches, which one of them I keep my winch control in, and that's the wire for it, so it's in 2 different pouches. And then I have my walkie-talkies in these 2, and then I have more back here for other little things that I need to get at. Back seat, nothing really to talk about there. And on the front, what I did do to this is I took out the gauge. The one that came with this had no gauges on the side, so no oil, no I don't think it even had heat index on it, other than a fuel gauge, I think, and the miles per hour. I don't know, it's pretty basic, so I got another one from the junkyard and installed that myself. On the back here, this is the storage that I made, and it switches into a bed. I have a couple of different videos on that. And these just open up for various things. That's a fire air compressor that I take out with me, and that's a Model 88, I believe, up to 120 psi. And for the price, definitely worth it. I just hook it up to my battery, and I'm able to air up without having to wait in line for the air pump at the station outside of the trail area. And then in back here I have a first aid kit and a couple of ammo boxes. One has tools in it and the other has an emergency kit, and various other things. And then here for this open pocket, I have a video on this. I just attached some webbing with some snaps and use that as storage, and add the storage on the sides there where the box doesn't meet up with the wheel well. And the same thing back there. Then this here is just a cargo net I found at a salvage store. It keeps basic stuff from flying up front. If I don't know if I was ever in a situation where things would fly up front. It's not heavy duty, but it'll get the job done for the smaller stuff. I don't really keep a whole lot of heavy things back here. And then up in here I have just Harbor Freight magnets. All these attachment points I got out of other vehicles at the junkyard, and I installed these into the bolts that are the screws that were already there, and all of them screw right into the metal behind the plastic. So they will take some pressure or some tension, and it's nice to have those. I also installed them, you can't really see it there, but I also installed them back there where the one of the bolts is for the locking plate for the rear seat, and then also another one up there. And like I said, more magnets. Got another hook or D-ring there. And then I just do things like these straps I've got from where the spare tire was up to here, and I just keep an extra pad for sleeping. And then this is a small little pillow I just carry around with me in case I need it. And that's the view of the headliner from the back. And with people in the back seat, even on the trails, they don't complain about their heads hitting anything, but if anyone was over like 6 foot, they would definitely have an issue, but that'd be their problem. And then on the tailgate here, I just took a bag that I had and installed it up here with snaps, and I'm just able to put stuff in there. Let's see, it's, for the most part, it's about it. This is just painted, but I actually do have the plates to go on here. I painted this so that it wouldn't rust underneath the plates when I install them, but I never got around to installing them, so that's something that I need to do. As far as underneath here, I haven't changed out too much. That's an Oliver's front drive shaft, which I did replace, and I've replaced the rear shaft, but I've done a lot of work with like inside the axle, all the bearings, all the seals, the pinion stuff. And in the front, I'm about to do the same thing on that because the rear or the front pinion seal looks like might be leaking, or actually it is leaking. So I'll go ahead and get that done. I haven't done any upgrades to the brakes or anything. Still drum brakes in the rear, or I'm sorry, yeah, drum brakes in the rear. One other thing that I did do was I did the Grand Cherokee V8 tie rod swap. So that is a Grand Cherokee tie rod, and that pretty much, I think, covers everything. If I left anything out, I'll add it in the comments or in the description. That's pretty much it. Overall, it's treated me fairly well. It drives pretty good. The mileage I get is about, I haven't ever adjusted the speedometer, but with the 33-inch tires on it, I get, I don't know, I'm guessing 14 between city and highway, and about 14 just on the highway, because this thing really likes driving at about 70, 75. Anything over 75 it doesn't like, but between 70 and 75 this thing moves, and I get zero vibration, and it just feels really good. So I think one thing I will do before my cross-country trip is actually get my speedometer adjusted and buy that unit that I can put in the transfer case and get that done. But between now and the cross-country trip, there's not a whole lot I'm going to do other than routine maintenance. Make sure all the hoses are good and that nothing looks like it's going to fail on me. So if you have any questions or comments, or if you saw anything that I left out and want to ask me, feel free. But please subscribe, and thanks for watching.